Hello and welcome to Jennifer Knatters. I am Jennifer and this is my knitting and nattering video podcast. Today is the 19th of January. I think it's been about a month, possibly a month and a week since last I recorded a podcast. If you don't know me, hello, welcome. If you are coming back, hi, good to see you again. Sorry it's been a while. As you probably know, if you're a returning viewer, not so much if you're a new viewer, I live in northern Scotland in Inverness. Inverness in Scotland, if you did Venn diagrams and you drew a circle of southern Scotland, eastern Scotland, northern Scotland, and western Scotland. Eastern Scotland, I hope I got all my directions right. If you drew a Venn diagram, Inverness would be where eastern, western, and northern, I'm now looking at the map instead of before, I'm pretty sure I said this was, but it's going to be flipped when you watch it. Anyway, if you drew the circles where all of them touch except southern Scotland, that's where Inverness is. I'm glad I cleared that up. People are probably, you either have no idea what I'm talking about or you're going, what on, that's wrong. So I apologize for that. Hi, it's been a while. Scotland is in full lockdown. We went into full lockdown the day after Christmas, which was actually a bit of a surprise to me because I thought that we'd been in tier 4. Maybe we went into tier 4 the day after Christmas, and then in the new year we went into full lockdown. I thought we had been in full lockdown when we were in tier 4. Inverness had previously been in tier 1 with the caveat that you couldn't meet inside, and then we went to tier 4 because of this English variant of coronavirus, and then is that the sun? Is the sun right there? I don't know, that is the reflection of the lamp. I was gonna say the sun should be over there and just about down because it is right around, it's almost 4 o'clock, so the sun should be setting. That is the light. I'm sorry, maybe if I turn the camera, is that better? I'm sorry. Anyway, Scotland, the whole country is full lockdown. We actually got a letter from a form letter obviously, from Nicola Sturgeon today saying that she appreciates what everyone is doing. She knows it's really, really hard. It is very much necessary, and thank you. And that's like Nicola Sturgeon. I am so impressed with everything she's been doing, and the way every time someone tries to ask her a political question at the coronavirus updates, and she's just like, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to save lives. Politics and the expression thereof can wait. And if you live in England or the US, you can see how politics is very much an issue, but she doesn't want to get drawn into political discussions. She just wants to talk about the science and the health and what's going on. So I'm very impressed with everything Nicola Sturgeon has done in this pandemic to help and to try to save lives and to encourage people. Yeah, new year, same old world, same coronavirus. Because we're in full lockdown, my children are currently being homeschooled. I have a 7-year-old who will be 8 next week, and my youngest just turned 4 last week. Everybody's birthday's in January except mine, so it is the changing of the ages. So I've got one in nursery and one in P3, and we're kind of not doing much for the one in nursery. Like they've got videos of the teachers reading stories, and I play those for her, and then I'll be like, it says you should do this today. Do you want to do that? And she's like, nope. And I'm like, okay, go play. You're doing fine, kid. You're doing fine. I may or may not have heard little feet. And the older one has, touch wood, been doing, oops, sorry, I actually knocked on the table there, made everything bounce. The older one's been doing much better this time around than she did in the first lockdown. I don't know how much of that is because she's used to it, how much is that I'm doing better at it, how much is that teachers are doing better at it, but I suspect it's a combination of all three. It is just so far been a little smoother, although last week was smoother than today's Tuesday. Yeah, today's Tuesday. Last week was smoother than this week has been so far, but we're doing our best. And all of that is to say that's why I haven't really had a chance to podcast, even the few times when I've thought, right, I've just given them both lunch, they have pad time, screen time right now, they're quietly absorbed, I'll run in and record a podcast, and then I've been like, my hair is really bad today and I haven't showered and blah 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 blah. And then here I am, and I'm just wearing a hat. My hair actually looked pretty cute this morning before I put the hat on, but I've been really, really cold. So this isn't my sitting out in the cold conservatory outfit. This is my around the house outfit today. This is a Rhinebeck hat by Woolly Wormhead. This is a cowl. I can't remember the name of the yarn for these. I think it's both the same yarn. It's maybe Culkin DK. They're both Ripples Crafts yarns, and the jumper is an Owls by Kate Davies in oh no, I know this. Who is it? It is the mill down near Paisley. I don't remember. This is a Scottish mill wool, and I've got knit socks on as well. I've just been cold. The house isn't, like my kids say, they're not cold and they're not all bundled up. And I think it's just because we haven't been out. Normally with my kids in school, I would walk to school and back 3 times a day. And right now we can go for one walk at the pace of a toddler. So, well, she's not really a toddler anymore. I think 4 makes you officially a big girl. But yeah, I think it's just because I'm not getting as much walking around exercise that my body's kind of just gone into a hibernation mode, and I'm cold all the time. So I've got layers on. I've been wearing thermals under wool jumpers and leg warmers over leggings under trousers, and I'm inside and I'm cold, and that's like, I can't just crank the heat up. That'd be expensive. Yeah, but I'm a knitter, so if anyone was prepared to handle dressing in layers and wool all the time, it should really be a knitter, right? Hi, I am obviously a bit discombobulated. It has been a while. I saw someone on Twitter talking about how, like, when you're homeschooling, you never get a break. Like, you're just constantly with your kids. Mine aren't old enough. Like, the almost 8-year-old does more stuff a bit on her own. Although her favorite thing to do is play Roblox, and she wants to sit next to me at the table and narrate everything she does in her game. She will go play quietly by herself, but she also really likes to just sit next to me and tell me everything she's doing, which I don't want to discourage, because I want her to want to tell me things, especially as she gets older and the things she might need to tell me get more complicated. But it makes it really hard for me to do anything else when it's constantly comments on how she's playing this video game. And the 4-year-old still wants me to play with her, play play board games, color, all that kind of stuff. So I haven't really had much time to myself. They want to work on sleeping together, and so we've been trying each night. Like, they have to go brush their teeth together and get their pajamas on and go to bed. This should all be at the end. But then, like, after a while, the 4-year-old gives up and comes and sleeps with me, and then the almost 8-year-old wants to come in and, like, in their perfect world, they would sleep together in my bed with me. But when I got a new bed a few years ago, because I snore and my husband doesn't want to sleep with the children, he has moved to a different room where he can sleep peacefully. He's not a deep sleeper. So I downgraded to a double bed from a super king, and there's not enough room for 3 people in a double bed. At least I don't think I would sleep comfortably if there were 3 people. And my 7, almost 8-year-old's bed is lofted, and I'm a big girl. I am too heavy for that bed. Otherwise, I'd be like, yeah, sure, both of you come in, lay in my bed. Oh, now you're both asleep? Okay, I'm just going to sneak out and go sleep in the other bed. But I can't sleep in the almost 8-year-old's bed because I would break it. If you can hear that beeping, I'm sorry. I'm doing laundry in the other room. And if you can't hear it, then don't mind me. Knitting. This is supposed to be a knitting and occasionally crochet, sewing, whatever podcast. If you're still with me, thank you, because Lord knows I am a bit scattered today. We can start with what I have in my lap, which is now I went through a bunch of other different blankets. This is a mitered square blanket, a Cozy Memories blanket, and since last we spoke, I have added, I think these 4 were done at my last podcast, but since I only show it when I've done a full row, I didn't mention them. So I've done a whole row. This is 14. I knit a 10 by 10 square, and then I started doing just one side to see how wide I wanted it. And now I'm going back and doing to make it square again. And then I may add another, like both sides, or 2 to make it 15 or 16. But I think when I get it squared up to 14, I'm going to set this aside for a while. So anyway, these are mostly Bumbling Yarns. Laura, the Lonely Knitter, who has Crafter's Balm, and now Bumbling Yarns. This one is not. The solid yellow is someone else, and I can't remember. I got that at Perth Festival of Yarn 2018? 2019. I went in 2019. So I got the yellow there. That's also when I started this blanket. So I think this one's Laura, and that one's probably Laura. Who knows? Laura. This one I think is someone else, but I couldn't tell you. Doot, 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 doot. That one's definitely Laura. This one is Jameson and, not Jameson and Smith. West Yorkshire Spinners. That's their fairy lights, and then I used just a little scrap of green to fill in the corner because I couldn't find the green for the stripe. I have since found the green that would have been the stripe. The pink I think is someone else. Probably Laura again. And then I am halfway through. I'm actually, I think, 8 into the next row. So I'll just go ahead and show those now. Doot, doot, doot. Doot, doot, doot. Doot, doot, doot. Doot. And again, I think these are mostly, these ones I think are mostly Laura. That one's not. That one I think might be Lay Family Yarns. This is Ripples Crafts. And I don't remember who that is. But it's not Laura. So anyway, because I did she's got a Scrappy Blanket Club, and I signed up for it October, it was possibly September, October, November, December of last year, and got 10 ball minis, 10 gram minis. I did 5 gram one time, but I didn't always have enough to fill out these squares. When I started, 5 grams was enough, but I think my tension has loosened up a bit, and so I need just that tiniest bit. There are some where, you know, like there's a little corner of something else. So yeah, but how much a little ball of yarn can depend a lot on humidity because the wool absorbs the humidity and stuff. So I'm not unhappy with what I got. I think the problem is here, not there, just to be clear. Yeah. So I've been working on my blanket. I'm really happy with it. I've actually done a square a day. I haven't done today's. I started off doing them during the day, but they basically took all day with my children asking me for things and doing things, and it was taking all day to do the square. So I've decided to work on other things and then do a square. I do one square while watching Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever it is I'm watching, streaming media. And then at night, if I finish that and I still have time, I can do something else. But usually that's basically my, that's my after the children fall asleep and I get to knit time. Sorry, drinking tea, just Earl Grey, Tesco's finest. And yeah, so that's what I've told you before. What else have I shown you before? I have my blade. I'm going to pronounce that entirely incorrectly. It's this pattern, and it's from Isolde Teague, and I ordered the yarn from her as well, which was very helpful because one of the staff people, I picked out my colors, and I apologize if you've heard this story before, but I added a note to the seller when I checked out that I was knitting it for this pattern, and could they please check that the colors work together. And they said that in person the colors were too similar. I don't know what I just dropped. It was probably a stitch marker. In person the colors were too similar, and recommended a different color for the lightest one. So that one. I've got the bottom. I did the sleeves first. The sleeves were so fast. I did these before Thanksgiving, and I knit one sleeve each. Each sleeve took me one day. And then I have finally finished. I did the body, and I have joined it in the round, and I am just starting now to add my stitch markers to mark where I've done. That's not one of the short row stitch markers. These ones hanging in front. I have started the short rows, and there was one day when I was working on it and I was really powering through, but then my hand started hurting and I kind of set it aside. And if you've ever knit a bottom up yoked jumper, you know that once you add the sleeves, you have 7 million stitches, which obviously is an exaggeration, but I think I cast on with 40 sleeves for the cuff, and the entire cuff was 2 rounds on the body, but then the sleeves get bigger. So the whole thing is bigger, and then you add the big sleeves, and I am working with 600 stitches, 500 stitches, I have no idea, and I'm not going to tell you because it's part of the pattern. But it is a lot of stitches, and you go round and round and round, and since it's short rows, to make the back a little higher than the front, which makes it sit more comfortably on most bodies, you're doing the short rows, so you knit around and then you turn and you go back and you just go back and forth around the back half, from here to here to raise up the back. So half of the rows you do 1 row knit and then you do 1 row purl. It's a lot, and it's not the kind of thing I can just put down and pick up and put down and pick up. Really the only part I need to worry about is the front where I'm doing the turning around, but I don't want to get turned around mid anywhere. It's kind of a big project, so it fills up my whole lap. So this really needs to be something when I have a chance to just sit down and knit for a length of time. That's when I would be able to work on it. But until either my children go to bed later or I don't know what, go back to school probably, I don't really know when I'm going to be able to sit down and just devote a chunk of time to knitting on this. I think the last time I showed it, is that what this purple stitch marker is for? Is that the last time I showed it was just after the color work at the yoke, or at the hem. And the color work at the yoke is going to be the fun part. That's the fun part, and the rows are getting shorter and it'll go really, really fast. If I can just get past this and get the color work established, the rest should be really easy. I'm just at a couple of rows where I need to pay a bit of attention, and I don't have attention right now. I mean, we're 20 minutes into this podcast and I have spent like 3 minutes now talking about knitting. It is not, as you can tell, I do not have a lot of attention. Do I have anything else on the needles that I have shown you before? I don't really think I do. I was working on a hat for my husband. Hopefully I can just put a picture of it in right here. I was working on a hat for my husband that he got for Christmas, and I was working on a hat for my 7-year-old, which she did not get. It's a brioche hat, and I haven't decided if I'm even going to knit it or not. The yarn had originally been bought in sweater quantities for something else, and then I thought, well, I'm not doing that, so I'll knit this hat for her that she needs for school where it's cold. And then I was doing a brioche pattern and I realized I'd gotten the spacing wrong, so rather than rip it back for like the 4th time, I'm getting so much better at it. I keep making mistakes, and now I've ripped it out so many times and reknit it. What I'm kind of tempted to do is just rip it out and reknit it as a plain brioche, just tube and then decreases at the top, because the swirly bits are really pretty, but the other bits are really easy. Like the straight brioche I can handle in a way that I can't seem to be able to handle doing more complicated brioche on this hat at this time. But then I was kind of like, well, if she's not in school right now, my husband figures we're going to be in lockdown, like the kids are going to be home probably until April, by which point she's not going to need a big bulky weight brioche hat. I can only hope. So as I'm ripping it back, I might as well rip it back and then repurpose the yarn back towards its original purpose of knitting jumpers with it. So it's just kind of sat, and I don't even know where it is right now, which is why I didn't bring it to show you, but it's just kind of sat off to one side. It's thinking about what it's done. The other thing I have sort of shown you is my sock tube that I got from Ducky Darlings. Ta-da! I have cut off 1 sock worth, and I still have, I should have enough to get 2 pairs of socks, like full-size socks out of this. Because here is the first sock. I have done the cuff, and now I am working on the toe, and then the stitch marker here is where, come here. This stitch marker here is where the heel should go. I originally drew a little, there's a blue line there. It's not showing up as blue, but that right there is a blue line that I drew with just a little felt tip marker. Because I washed my husband's socks, and then I used one of them to measure how long this is, but then I decided that these socks, which are one of the Another Year of Techniques from the Arno Culliford, that my husband claimed, so I knit them for him. These ones I know fit particularly well, so I measured again with these, and so I moved the heel marker down a bit, but I will knit the toe and then I will put the heel in last. Ducky Darling was kind enough to send a contrasting mini for the heels, cuffs, and toes, which was not even part of the listing. She had ones that were like gift sets, and they came with the mini, but they also came with knitting needles, and I knit my socks on a 2.0 millimeter, and I believe they came with it was either a 2.25 or a 2.5, which certainly I could add either of those to my collection, but I didn't need it, so I just bought the sock tube, and I figured with my big bag of minis that I would have something that fits. Or, I was not worried about finding the mini, but she did send a coordinating mini, so I'm using this kind of brownish, it's almost a little bit purple. It's a, which isn't showing up in this, and this whole thing is coming out a bit brighter than it actually is. That's kind of what it is. It's very pretty. I believe the colorway is called Cinder, but she threw in a mini in, oh, and there's the blue line for where I thought the cuff would be. This is my first time using a sock tube, and one of my things was that I thought I would test. This is a 72 stitch sock tube. Does it fit my husband comfortably? Is that something he would like? How much trouble is it turning a sock tube into a sock? Not that much, although it did take me like most of yesterday just to successfully unpick the sock and put it on 2 different needles, and then knit the cuff. And for some reason, this is all what I did yesterday, for some reason both the cuff and the toe, when I started knitting on them, I was purling inside out, like I was purling. So with the cuff, I always do 1 row plain of the contrast color before switching to the ribbed pattern, so that you don't see the little purl bumps. When you switch from knitting in one color to purling in the other, you get these little purl bumps. Anyway, so I purled 1 row, and then I went into the 2x2 rib, and then I just turned the project inside out so that I wasn't knitting on the other side. Instead of knitting on the far side of the circle, I turned it inside out, and then I was knitting on the inside of the circle, and because it was a 2x2 rib, it didn't matter that I'd been on the purl side. And then with the toe, I did a short row, and then so I'm knitting the toe instead of purling on the other side. I don't know why that is. I'm sure if I was more experienced at this, that would be a thing I would know how to avoid. Yeah, this one is going to be this one. It's going the other direction from what I expect to be doing. Is it because I started at the wrong end of the sock tube? I mean, that's the most... I have no idea. It's not hard to switch direction. So, and when I do the heel, it shouldn't matter because I'm not going round and round the tube. I'm just going to have it, you know, like I'm making a new rounded round, so it doesn't really matter. If you have a lot of experience with sock tubes and you have an opinion on this matter, and the opinion is, here's what you could do differently, I would like to hear it. If it's just, this is what sock tube, this is what they do, then that's probably also useful information. The tension on this isn't entirely even, and I don't know why that would be. Is it like ball winding, where if the thread gets pulled tighter, it's tighter? I have no experience with sock tubes, which is what this is about. Because you can get 3D printed sock machines now, and if this does turn out to be an easy and efficient way to get a pair of vanilla socks, then that would be something I could look to acquiring. And if it's not, then I will know to stop wanting to acquire one, because right now I am a bit wistful. I'm like, oh, a sock tube, that sounds... You could just crank out socks, and then you could have a new pair of socks in a day rather than, I mean, or at least a new sock, the first sock in a day, you know, in a couple days rather than a couple of weeks. Anyway, I did mention this when I acquired it. Sorry, it was on the radiator and the needles went zwing. I did mention when I acquired it. The sock tubes are a little more expensive than the sock yarn. I think it was like 5 quid more. It might have been 10 quid more. I really don't remember at this point, but it seemed like a reasonable, like I've wound a yarn ball into a cake, and I know that you're like, oh, I'm just gonna stand here and my hand's gonna go around, 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 around. Oh, and that, yeah, I'm really feeling it, and that maybe I can do it. Oh no, it doesn't work. I mean, it's a fair amount of effort, and I presume a sock tube is just a little bit, I mean, it's the same amount of yarn, but it's probably just that little bit more cranking, if that makes sense. So I do appreciate the saving the time, and if my time is worth even minimum wage, then the difference between knitting a sock, even if I knit a pair of socks in a week and a half, which I think is about my fastest pair of socks, versus being able to just do in 2 days and have a pair of socks, like that's enough hours that it's a savings. That's acquisitions. What are you? Your new project. Crochet, which is also partially, in the Little Gray Girl After Christmas sale, I bought these 2 bags. I think this one is, I can't remember if this is slightly larger than small or medium. I don't know if this was large or medium, but I got these 2 bags from her in the sale. They came very quickly, and they are lovely in the way that they are all lovely. Crochet. I have started a Battenberg blanket, and I am using the minis. This is number 7, which I'm not up to yet, and I wasn't peeking, but I will go ahead. This is my mini from Wee County Yarns. Claire buys cones of yarn, and then she winds them up into 10-gram minis, and this is super soft lamb's wool, which I believe is the J.C. Rennie. J.C. Rennie, that's who this yarn is. I believe this is the J.C. Rennie super soft lamb's wool. When they come out with a new cone, she makes a new basket of minis. I had previously used the teal. This is, I think, 2018 yarn advent calendar, and I was going to do a vivid blanket, so I did knit a vivid square, and I bought some black yarn to be the outside border that would then be matched, but I needed to go down a needle size. Like, I washed it and I blocked it, and I needed to go down a needle size. They were just a little too flimsy. I was worried the yarn would break. So with what I had left after having knit that vivid, I had enough yarn to crochet 3 squares. I'm doing these on a 2.5 millimeter because my choices were 3.5 or 2.5. I do not have the largest collection of hooks. So this was day 1, which is, I don't remember what day 1 was. Day 2 is this goldenrod color. Day 3, this one's hawthorn. That one I remember. The gold is nugget. And then this one is porridge, which is day 22, because that was just the first one I pulled out. So I crocheted one of the teal ones and one of the silver ones, and then I went back and finished the ball of this first sea foamy, and then the gold, and the hawthorn, which is reds and greens. I don't know if you can kind of see that. It looks brown in low light and from a distance, but up close it's a really pretty heathered, lots of colors. Sorry for the crinkling. I was just looking to see. I did 1 square from day 4 for today. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'll have 11 in the other room. Today's the 19th, but if I do 1 or 2 a day, then I will get caught up for the square a day blanket. The Battenberg crochet blanket is a free pattern, and it alternates colored squares with the patterns has white, and then it's like a Battenberg cake, which is alternating colors. A Battenberg cake has 2 offset white squares, a pink square and a yellow square, and then it's wrapped in marzipan. If you, like me, did not know what a Battenberg cake is, I did not know before I moved to the UK. So I'm doing the colored ones. I don't think I really want to crochet with the black yarn for this, but I will see what light colors I have in my set, and I may decide, like, this porridge might be the perfect one, or there might be a snow white that I would like a lot. It is a free pattern, and the pattern includes instructions for 1, 2, 3 rounds. I have done 4 rounds just to make it a little bigger, and it's a free pattern on her website. She's got YouTube videos, and it is on Ravelry, so whatever works for you. Yeah, I'm doing really well with these so far. I just started that, I want to say over the weekend. I might have only just started those maybe Friday. So I've made quite a few since then, and I am enjoying it. And that is a nice project to have at the table where I do the schoolwork with the kids, which really means schoolwork with my P3, because I can hook a little and then I can put it down. I don't have to worry about the needles falling out or how big it is or anything. It's just really small. Like, I can even carry it around in my pocket even when I'm only wearing girl pockets. Or like I can just have it close and and they hook up really quickly, so it's an easy thing to work on while I'm doing the schooling, which is kind of the advantage there. The square a day blanket, excuse me, is for Sharon of the SCRTNO podcast, and she's doing the knit along either Instagram or Ravelry. And there is a rainbow sock along, which is Lay Family Yarns, and I can't remember who the other person is, but they are running a rainbow sock pot knit along, where each month there's a different color to make a pastel-y rainbow of socks, and January is pink, so I pulled out these. Oh, that's popping really bright. This is Polar Opposites yarn from the Yarn Goddess. Hold on, I'm just checking I should have the label in my sock sack. The Knitting Goddess, and this is her BFL mohair blend, and this color is Pretty in Pink, and they are from her Polar Opposites dyeing technique. Sorry, they should have different toes. So this one's pink with gray, and this one's gray with pink. They're really pretty, they're really soft, they're really lovely. I was kind of winging this without a pattern, because the pattern I picked is cuffed down, but I wanted to do toe up so I could try to use as much of the yarn as possible and maybe make slightly longer socks. So I was kind of winging it, and I got to the heel turn. I was knitting them consecutively, but I got through the heel turn on the first one, and it is too short. So at this point, I'm thinking about I pulled the needles out of them because I needed them for other things, including the socks for my husband, because I did have them each on their own needle. And I am thinking about just frogging them entirely, not doing the rainbow thing. Some of the months are colors that I don't really have. Like there's 3 orangey yellow ones, like a peach and then an orange and then yellow, and then some of the months are colors I'm not that into anyway, but I can frog these and find a pattern. I'm also thinking that doing top down isn't going to be a problem anyway, and I probably should have just done them top down and followed a pattern and not been making it up as I go along. I would be entirely comfortable making it up as I go along with a standard sock yarn, because they're mohair blend. I'm not as experienced using them. They're not as long. I've never knit. I have knit one pair of mohair blend socks, no nylon socks before, but those were top down. Sorry, my voice is just going a bit funny. I don't feel like I'm gonna cough or anything. It just feels funny. It is really cold out here. So I'm thinking I'm gonna frog those and not worry about the rainbow thing, because again, Sharon, SCR and SCR1 Tiana, oh goodness. Sharon also announced that she's organizing a stripy sock knit along to go the whole year, and then each month there is at least 2 yarn brands, an indie dyer and a commercial dyer, who are worth bonus points in that month. So this next month, the commercial dyer is Opal, which I have in stash, West Yorkshire Spinners, King Cole, Lang. I don't have any Lang in stash, but that's the other one I remember. So commercial sock yarns that are more affordable, and then also indie dyers. Like I know one month is Bramble Yarn, so now we're moving into Acquisitions, because I went from 0 self-striping yarn wound up in gobstopper balls to 3, and these 3 are all the Bumbling yarns, Laura of the Lonely Knitter, and I also got one from Giddy Yarns, and this is a Christmas color. Oh, this is Yuletide. I thought I got Grandma's Christmas Tree, which was more, okay. I ordered a different colorway than I thought, but it's fine, because it's Christmassy self-striping yarn. So yeah, there's, I'm tired. And then I have other self-striping yarns. I've got some Yarn Goddess in self-striping yarn. I've got Henny Penny Makes in self-striping yarn. I've got a bunch of commercial self-striping yarn. So I think I would rather put all of my eggs, my sock knitting, because I don't think I can knit more than 1 pair of socks a month if I can even knit 1 pair of socks a month. But I will put all of my sock knitting mojo in that basket, because that seems like something, matching a yarn dyer is easier than matching a yarn color, for me at least, if only because I don't tend to like yellow toned yarns. I'll use them for my husband, but I don't tend to use them for me. So that's knitting. As long as we are on the subject of acquisitions, I also got this lovely project bag for Christmas. I like to party, and by party I mean stay home in my PJs and knit. And that is Jilly Makes. She did a couple of these right before Christmas. The yarn you can't really see, but it is sheep in knitwear, and they are ice skating, which technically makes it a winter theme, but it is the lining of the bag, and I don't care, because I like to party, and by party I mean stay home in my PJs and knit. I first saw this on Sharon of SCR1TNO's podcast. See, I can do it sometimes. And I had covetous feelings, and she finally pops them up on the website again, so I bought one, and I had my husband give it to me for Christmas. I like how picking my own Christmas presents turned out this year. Another present I bought for myself and had my husband give me is the final batch of Helen's Cochrane Sport Weight, her anniversary blend of yarn. which I think was 2018. Or at the very least it was 2019, but she ordered, she had some of this commissioned, and then she was dyeing it up over time. It is 50% Beaumont, 50% BFL. It is so soft. Beaumont is also referred to as Scottish Merino. It was a commercially manufactured breed. I think it was probably a university project to make a breed of sheep who were soft like merino, but hardy like mountain primitive breeds here in Scotland. They succeeded, but because it is a novelty flock, there are not a lot of these sheep in existence. So yeah, if you ever see something that was made with Beaumont, grab it. That's a nice yarn. But I bought some when it first came out. It was expensive and I couldn't afford to buy a whole heck of a lot, so I bought enough to make a shawl. I liked the yarn more than the shawl, so I kept buying more. My cat is now meowing on the other side of that door. So I bought more. That's Oliver and he wants his dinner. So I bought, like, in ones and twos, I bought more skeins, and then when I went to use it, it was like 3 different dye lots, which makes sense. I mean, I'd bought it over months. I knew it was different dye lots when I bought it. In fact, at one point, I bought a bunch of yarn, and Helen was like, "These are different dye lots. Are you sure you want it?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know which dye lot is going to match what I already have, so I guess." And then I was supposed to go see her in person, and I could exchange it for other yarn if I wanted to, and I never made it. Because there were a couple of things where, like, she was there and we could have done the exchange, and I never, every single time when it came to it, I was like, no, can't actually make it today. So I knew that. And then I knit a jumper, which I absolutely love. I love knitting with it. I love wearing it. This is really nice yarn. So when she said this is the final batch, this is the last of her stock of the yarn, and she popped it up in her website, and she had sweater quantities, and it was reduced, I had to buy a sweater quantity. Like, this yarn, as much, I mean, at the time I was like, I love this yarn so much, I wish I could have another sweater quantity. And when you said that a number of times, and then it's there, yeah, so. And the one I bought before was a more reddish purple. This is Wild Violets. And then this was the yarn that came with, I did the Botanic Knits Plant and Yarn Club. It's not quite this pink, it's a little more brownish. I actually like that pink more. But this is the one that goes with the Mantura, can't quite read what that other word is, a prayer plant. So I got those. And the other 2 things in here are more of the purple, the Beaumont. I have done that bag, and I have done that bag, and I have done that bag. We are on to embroidery. I did do a fair amount of sewing, and I was making Christmas present bags to put the presents in, and then I made some birthday bags for when my 3-year-old turned 4. I made some non-Christmassy ones, and they are just reusable fabric bags. I was not lining them. I was not trimming, you know, like doing French seams or anything. They are just, you know, make sure the bottom and the sides, except I was folding the fabric over, so you only have to do 2 sides, and then I made a drawstring channel, put a ribbon in it, and you just tie them up, and it's a pretty bag. It's reusable. They don't take up much space because it's just a thing of fabric. I made a bunch in different sizes, and they worked out really well, but I do not have them here to show you. Oh, a couple more things in acquisitions. I've got Perspectives, which is from Black Isle Yarns, and that is Julie Rudder. And then the knitting patterns are Julie Rudder and Emily Williams. That's Emily Williams. She goes to my knit night, the knit night I have not been to in a long time. But she is a local friend. One of my favorite things is it came with this bookmark, so it's the sheep, and then they get sheared, and then Julie grades the yarn, has it spun, dyes it, and then Emily knit, designed, and then the jumper. So I think that is just really, really cute. The patterns are really nice. There's a bunch of different things. I'm just looking to see if there's a picture that kind of shows. There's a rectangular hat in a couple different sizes. Oh, this shows a bunch of, and then there's a more triangle shaped. They've got these waistcoat stroke sleeveless vest shapes. There's the hat and mittens. I'm doing a terrible job of showing the book. And it is a new sport weight yarn that Julie had spun and then has dyed up. All the patterns are knit with it. The one I want to knit first is the hat that is on the cover. Oh, there's this cowl with a kind of woven look, but this hat shown in 2 or 3 colors, and I just think it looks so nice. But yeah, I believe Julie did the mittens and the hat. Hey, I found the page that shows the patterns. So there's the sleeveless jumper, the cowl, the mittens, the hat, the triangle shawl, and the hat. It is nice paper. It is well bound. It's a very attractive book, and it supports some local yarnies, a yarnie and a designer, and I'm very happy. You can see it's got a little bit of a sheen on it. They got someone else to do the photographs because they're both in them, which I think is Jenny Reed, but I am not a person who would know. But I know Julie does most of the pictures for Emily's patterns as well. And in fact, my sourdough starter is from Julie by way of Emily. So it is many years old and it is wonderful. And Julie, if you ever see this, thank you for the sourdough starter. It's really great. And then I also have 10 Years in the Making, which is Kate Davies' newest pattern book. I love that cover jumper or cardigan. I have Serious Cardigan. Every one of my most worn store-bought cardigans has that kind of silhouette. And I want to knit myself my own version, a hand knit version, to replace the acrylic one from the shop. This kind of shows the new patterns, although I think, yeah, that one's the revamped version of Paper Dolls. So it has some of her earlier patterns rewritten to now use, this is also a new yarn release. And then I think it's 10 new patterns, and it is a nice collection. Again, it's a nice book. This one has cover flaps. It does have a very interesting take on a quilt blanket, which I saw a second ago, which is what made me think of it, and now it is gone. But I do think, there we go, where they're just squares and then you knit half in one color and half in the other, and then some that are solid colored, and you seam them together to make a blanket, which is also how you would make the quilt that it is based on. But yeah, that's a nice book. I like Kate Davies. I know not everyone supports Kate Davies after what happened in the knitting community in 2019. I recognize that. I think I'm not talking about it today because I cannot brain. Yeah, embroidery. Moving on, I've got my black work stitch along that I started towards the end of last year. I think it was like October. And it was Peppermint Purple's mystery stitch along, where she wrote it as every block is a different color. But I'm doing a gradient, and yes, that orange jumps a bit, but such is the nature of life. But she released a new stitch pattern for each month, and I haven't shown it since I did the first row. I forgot to show it when I did the second row, and here I've finished the third row, so hooray! And I've just started this fourth row a little bit. Obviously I'm behind because this is 2020 and we are 3 weeks into 2021, but I can catch up pretty quickly because like I did most of that row in 1 week. When I actually work on it, it goes pretty quickly. But I am not working on it the most because the 2021 stitch along has started, and I ordered the yarns for it, the threads for it, and they came all neatly marked on 3 cards. Doot, 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 doot. Ta-da! Pull those out. So here. These are all of the colors, and then she actually based on feedback from people who did this previous year one, which was her first mystery stitch along. And these are free stitch along, so if you're at all interested, go and you can just register to get the patterns. She's done 2 shapes this year. One is a rectangle like last year, but people said that because it is a long rectangle, it's going to be difficult, really expensive to frame. But some people wanted it to match so that the one they have this year will look like the one they did last year. So this is the rectangle layout, because when I ordered fabric, I only ordered one of the fabrics I wanted, and the length I got is rectangular. So this is the first one, and this is how wide it'll be, and then it'll be the same, a wide one and then a long one on the other side, and that will establish the length. Obviously I was not centered when I did that. Yeah, the fabric's cut asymmetrically because I folded it in half and then I started, but the fabric is cut. I didn't check the grain lines. But I'm not going to do a big border on it anyway, so that will be fine. But these are the first 2 weeks. The third week comes out tomorrow. I'll fold this up behind so the light's not coming through. So this is the week 1 stitch pattern and the week 2 stitch pattern in these suggested colors. And then today I got, oops, don't come undone. I got a snap frame and the fabric to do my second one. So I'm just starting, this is the week 1. And it's in different colors because the way the layouts are, the colors are different. And this is the top center, and then it's going to go down and across. And then there are patterns to fill in to make it square all the way around. So I just started at the middle and then I stitched the outline up, and I'm doing the inside, and then I will outline it, which is also what I did on this one, though without having found the middle, because the middle would be like way down here. It was more stitching up. But I've got the black thread dangling in the back. Ta-da! So that when I do, it'll be the 2 little squares inside, and as I do them, I can then outline them in the black. And this one. So it's the same stitch pattern for week 1, although this one is up and this one is side to side, and it's a different color. So hopefully the little squares do not take me very long. The bigger squares take twice as long. Depending on the stitch pattern, I will say with my other one, which I already put away, but there was one, like some of them, if the stitch pattern just doesn't fit in my head, it takes longer. This is my first time using one of these snap frames, but you just, these little bits here, they just pull off. So I can work on one. And what I figure I'll do is, like I'll stitch one and pop it off and then stitch the other, and the first one I did, the week one, used exactly one length. It's one thread, and then embroidery floss comes in 6 plies, so you pull out 1 ply. The second one has more stitches, so it used just the start of a second one, but there are 6 plies here, and I have not even come close to using 3 for one. The only thing is I might need more black, but that's easy. I have black thread. Now I'm worried that maybe if I change my thread midway, you'll be able to see the difference, but I don't think you will. And it is DMC thread, so I can just get black DMC thread if I'm worried about that, which apparently I now am. So yeah, each week a new stitch block pattern comes out, and then you just look up what color it is for your chart and where it goes. For this one, because she has the 2 charts, she has 2 layout charts, and then they have what order they're stitched in, and then their color number, and then you just plug that information in, and then you get the chart for the inside one. It is really, 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 really cold out here. Excuse me. And we have been talking for an hour and a minute according to my time up above, and I need to go toilet, and my tea, ooh, it's not cold yet. Almost cold, but not cold yet. Still a tiny bit warm because I've got an insulated cup there. So yeah, I will go. I kind of already babbled on about family stuff, which is that we are in lockdown and we are home, and that's everything. The days are getting longer. There's a vaccine. Hopefully we will all still be here this time next year, and we will be doing things in person, and this will just be those really crazy 2 years when everybody had to stay home. Stay safe, stay well. Thank you for watching. Ooh, here's something I never say. If you like my podcast, subscribe and or like it. That just makes me more visible for other people, and it means that the YouTube algorithm will be more likely to show you my podcast, especially if you subscribe. If you subscribe, then you get your own little list of people you subscribe to, and here are their videos. But liking the podcast means YouTube will say, hey, someone else liked this, you might like it too, and then I might have more than 19 subscribers. I love each and every one of you with my whole heart, even if you don't watch my video. And I love everyone who watches this video with my whole heart, which is usually like 1 person. I think my highest in a week was 8. So that's where I am, and that's okay. I am just a baby podcaster talking to myself. I mostly do this for the talking to myself, but I do find watching podcasts feels a lot like interaction, which I think we all need a bit of in the second year of coronavirus. So if you think someone else might like it, even if you don't know who that person is, like, subscribe, recommend me to a friend. Thank you. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. It's been a while. Yesterday was MLK Day in the US. Dismantle the white supremacy and patriarchy. Yeah. Tomorrow's Inauguration Day for Biden. Will be let's not talk US politics right now. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.